Hey guys, welcome back to Book Talk with Vin. Today we are talking about Legends Lattes by Travis Baldree.
We're really excited about this one because, unlike Project Hail Mary, both of us have read this one, so I have a lot of opinions this time too. And I'm really excited to share with you why this is one of our favorite cozy fantasy stories.
Legends Lattes takes place in a fantasy world, so we had to bust out the Ren Fair outfits to really immerse ourselves in the story. We're big Renaissance Fair people, so we busted out some of our favorite outfits that we have.
And we are super excited for this excuse because Ren Fair season isn't quite upon us yet, so any excuse we have to get dressed up a little early is always a good time, and hopefully it'll set the mood for this podcast.
Legends Lattes is a cozy fantasy book. It takes place in a fantastical world with different races that you would find in typical fantasy stories like orcs and goblins and things like that. But the themes aren't very heavy. There's not a lot of violence or political intrigue or things like that that you would find with other traditional fantasy books. And the themings in this story are meant to be more hopeful and sort of empathetic and sort of uplifting rather than some of the darker, heavier themes and tones that you would find in other fantasy stories.
Yeah, cozy fantasy for me always has the vibe of it being like a slice of life in a fantasy world instead of this overarching, like, Lord of the Rings vibe where there's true stakes where the world could end, or there's gruesome battles where hundreds and thousands of people die. That's not what you're going to find in a cozy fantasy novel, but instead you'll have local drama and a little bit of fighting here and there, but it's mostly a lot of daily life coziness that is really fun once you get into the genre. So, some other ones that we really like: The Spell Shop and the Baby Dragon Cafe books. All of those are also cozy fantasy novels within the genre.
It's kind of like the opposite of alchemized.
Yeah. So, this is definitely a genre that up until the last few years we hadn't really dabbled in. And then over, what was it, maybe 3 years ago, I guess, you found
Yeah.
Legends and Lattes, and we absolutely fell in love with cozy fantasy. And since then, that has been a genre that we definitely lean towards as we're looking for new books.
Well, I think that there was like a gap in the market post COVID for certain types of genres, which is why you see like cozy fantasy, romantasy, with these things that didn't really exist as much or as prominently pre COVID, that now you see all these different like subgenres really starting to fill out with
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah, and as you can see, we are big fans of this series. We have all of the special edition versions. We have lots of merch and stickers and all sorts of things. And up on this shelf up here, you'll see the rest of our special editions for the other two books that are out in the series. There's another one coming out in October.
I
I
think
think.
October, and I think it's also a graphic novel coming out this fall
Oh yeah,
too.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot happening in this Legends and Lattes world. The Each book is kind of interconnected, but it could also be read standalone. I do think that it helps if you've read the books prior to those, just so that you have context with the characters that overlap, but they can be read standalone as well. But today we are only going to focus on Legends and Lattes. We'll definitely be going into bookshops and bone dust and brigands and bread knives.
Yep.
We can look forward to that coming soon.
So, spoiler free thoughts and review of the story. I love this book mostly for its messaging and themes of finding new dreams and new passions and redirecting your life and starting over and starting fresh and making connections with people that are like going to enrich your life and like surrounding yourself with people that are supporting you, supporting your goals, but you're also supporting them too. I think it's very like good community building and just really good messaging for anybody.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that what really drew me into this story, without giving any spoilers away, was just that It's a really nice story of you can do something your career, your whole life, and then at a certain point realize it's not what you want to do anymore. And it's okay to start over and try something new and really put yourself out there and take a risk. So, this is an awesome story for that.
Yeah. So this part is still spoiler free. This is the synopsis. This is like the blurb you'd get on the back of the book. The main character, Viv, is an orc mercenary who is really good at fighting, really strong, really good at all that sort of stuff. And she's just been traveling around being a mercenary, getting into wars and battles and things like that. And she gets to a point where she just doesn't want to do it anymore. She's just kind of tired of doing the same thing and fighting for her life and killing people and all that stuff. So she decides to open a coffee shop in a city that doesn't have coffee shops, doesn't really know what coffee is, but because she's so well traveled and she's been to all these places, that she knows what coffee is and how to make it. So she moves to a city and opens up a coffee shop. And this is just kind of like her process of getting it started and trying to make it successful, and the people she meets along the way and how they help her and her settling into this new life that she builds.
Yeah, and I think that the main conflict that we see, without giving spoilers away too, is just that this town has never heard of coffee. They don't really know what she's trying to sell them, and there's a lot of her having to market this and make friends and make connections in the town and go through all of that drama in order to succeed as a coffee shop in a place where they really have no idea what she's talking about when you say coffee. So,
Also worth noting, there is a romantic subplot to this story. It's not, I would even call it like a B or a C plot. Um,
it's not open door. It's very much fade to black, and it is a queer love story. So just to keep that in mind too, as you're deciding whether this is the book for you. But it's definitely not something that is the forefront of the story as you're reading it. It's kind of a cute secondary subplot.
yeah.
I guess the only other thing to note too is if you're used to very chill, cozy fantasy, there is a little bit of violence in this book. It's nothing major, but some cozy fantasy books have no violence. I would definitely say that this book has some. There's not really a lot of build up to it. It's not scary. It's not very graphic, but there are some fighting scenes as well.
And it does kind of get gradually more through the books as we go. So there's like very little, very, very little in this first one. There's a little bit more in the second one. And in the third one, there's like full blown action fighting scenes with
Yeah.
like death and blood and stuff.
Yeah, I think the third book, which is Brigands and Bread Knives, is definitely the least cozy.
Most adventurous.
Yeah, most adventurous out of the three. It's still considered cozy fantasy, but it's definitely
more traditional
Mm-hmm.
sort of fantasy where it's like we're going on an adventure and we're gonna get into some stuff, some
Yeah.
skirmishes, and it's gonna be rough and we're gonna get injured and run out
Yeah.
of food and have to figure out how to get to this place and do this thing. Like definitely more of like a traditional adventure story arc.
Yeah, but for a traditional cozy fantasy book with a little bit of fighting and some stakes, Legends and Lattes is definitely your kind of poster book story.
All right, now let's get into the plot. So from here on out, it is spoiler full. If you don't want to be spoiled, pause the video, come back later. Don't come back at all. Do whatever you want. I'm not your dad.
And just know that we're gonna do our best to stay on track with the storyline, but we don't have any notes in front of us, so we might hop around a little bit within the plot as well as we remember certain things. But we're definitely gonna do our best to really give a picture of why we love this story so much and all of the cozy details.
Okay, so getting into the plot. The story picks up with Viv in her final battle as a mercenary with her band of mercenary groups. This is where all of the violence, most of the violence in the story is going to take place, aside from like generic punching and fighting. But this is the one with the swords and the blood and stuff. So this is most of it right up front here. The band wins their final battle, and Viv's only treasure from this mission, this contract, this last job that she's taken is a Scalvard stone, which she does intentionally and takes on purpose because it's rumored that it brings good fortune to its owners. So with that, she takes the Scalvard stone and heads to the city of Thune to open a coffee shop. So that's the either the prologue or the first chapter, but the stone kind of guides her, or at least in her perception, guides her to the city of Thune to open her coffee shop. And this was not like a spur of the moment decision. This is something she had been thinking about for a while. She has the coffee maker with her. She has the gold she needs to buy a building and start the business. She just needs to find a location and make it happen. And Thune, the city, doesn't know what coffee is, has never had a coffee shop. This is like an invention from like a faraway place that she's traveled to.
Yeah, because I think in this world, coffee comes from the gnomes, right? It's a gnomish
Yeah,
coffee.
it's like a gnomish invention.
Yeah.
So she has traveled somewhere far away where like the gnomes know what coffee are, but like the rest of the world doesn't really. So she brings it with her.
So she arrives in Thune and she starts looking around for an open shop front, and she's kind of wandering through the streets. We're getting a little bit of world building as she walks around. We're seeing that there's restaurants, that there's, people on the streets. It's a very picturesque, cute sounding village. And then
there's like people of different races because in this world there's just like every sort of fantasy creature you could imagine.
It's very Dungeons and Dragons-esque with this, where there's lots of the different mythological and fantasy characters that you would expect in a Dungeons and Dragons game.
Yeah. So Viv is now in Thune. She feels the stone pull her towards an old abandoned stable, so she decides that that's going to be the location. It needs a lot of work, a lot of renovations. So she buys the stable from the owner. She buries the Scalvard stone in
under the floorboard. I think she pulls.
Yeah, she pulls up a floorboard, digs some dirt, and buries it underneath. And that's sort of like the
That's basically locking in the magic of the stone.
Yeah, it's meant to be like if this is where the good fortune is going to be, it needs to be here.
Yeah.
After that, she goes down to the docks and meets a hob character, which I assumed to be like a hobgoblin.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So I was picturing a hobgoblin, but we did look it up right before this, and apparently
it is like humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
He is humanoid because it's a man.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Calamity, but everybody calls him Cal. But he's like a gruff woodworker.
Yeah.
Heart of gold. A man of few words.
He kind of, in my mind, he was a hobgoblin, like very grumpy, kind of.
He communicates mostly in grunts.
Yes, and he kind of reminded me of who you would expect working down at a dock and just kind of like working on old ships and.
He kind of reminds me of Luke from Gilmore Girls if he didn't own a coffee shop and wasn't in love with Lorelai.
Yeah, and was covered in more like dirt and grime most of the time.
A woodworker through and through.
Yes. So Cal is the first character besides Viv that we really get to know.
He's one of the like 4 main characters of the story, but it's nice to have a grumpy character like that opens up more and more as you go through the story, and I think that he's one of the really good foil to Viv's character because Viv is a mercenary, obviously traveled around, met a lot of people, fought a lot of things, is kind of just like used to people being people. So I think when people show her a lot of kindness, she's kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, and I think that for her, she's used to just muscling her way through everything too. And so as she's settling in, she has to keep reminding herself as she's interacting with people that she's staying here for the long run. So she doesn't want to make enemies. She's trying not to muscle her way through things. So she's feeling very out of her depths as well during all of this. And Cal is gruff and grumpy, but he's also kind of fatherly and protective in a certain way too, where he notices and kind of takes on that she's out of her depths and this is something that she's not sure how to do. And I think that the town is a little bit closed off to her as well because she's this scary orc and she's, they're not sure what she's doing here. And they don't know why she tells them she's opening a coffee shop, and people are like, what is that?
Yeah. A
So,
lot of this is turning expectations on their head. So I think that there's also this element of this isn't just like a career change to Viv. She's also trying to change like who she is. She
right.
doesn't want to be like traditional fantasy scary orc sword running around screaming
Mm-hmm.
fighting doing all this stuff. It's a subversion of expectations where you take a character that you expect to be one thing and you're turning them into somebody else.
Yeah.
So she's like, I think when she first buys the stable, she nails two nails into the wall and hangs up her sword and doesn't carry it around anymore because that's not going to be the solution to her problems anymore.
Yeah.
She has to work on things.
But she's also not quite ready to give up her mercenary life because there's a loft above, and she sleeps on the floor or on straw and things for a while. So, like, she's not ready to have a cozy mattress and quite give up this, like, being on her toes, waiting for there to be danger lifestyle.
Yeah, this story really is like the transformation arc.
Yeah.
The worm going, not the worm, the caterpillar going into the chrysalis to become the butterfly.
Yes, exactly.
So she recruits Cal. He's really gruff. He's happy for the work though, and I think that there's some like one of the other elements of the story I really like is the people that take pride in their work. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing what they love and they're proud of it, and I think that that's like one of the really beautiful
Yeah.
messages of the story is that people are choosing to do these things because they love them, so they have this like sort of pride.
Yeah. And it's nice too because Viv has saved up basically everything that she made as a mercenary. So she has enough money to pay Cal well. And that really means a lot to him because I think it's very clear at this point that people don't really like him in the town either. They avoid him. He's kind of scraping by, and Viv comes down and she's, impressed by his work, and she offers to pay him a large sum to help her build out.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be done
Yeah.
too. These stables are like
Yeah, she wants to make it into a cute coffee shop, and it's a rundown stable. So she's like, I will pay you well if you help me transform this into a coffee shop. And mind you, Cal has no idea what a coffee shop is either.
Yeah.
So
He's taking this on faith and money.
Yeah. So it's our first sign that, maybe this stone is telling her the right thing, because up until this point it's kind of seemed like, why did the stone bring her to this place where no one knows about coffee?
And that's the other thing too. It's also like the testament of hard work too.
Yeah.
I think this story has a lot of like grassroots sort of like follow your passions, do the hard work, feel pride in your work type of story that I think is really like heartwarming to people.
Yeah. So they get back to the stables, and Cal is like looking around.
Like,
thinking,
this is a job.
Yeah, this is not going to be as easy as you think it is. And he starts, he's always grunting and like writing things down and figuring things out. And
measuring stuff.
Liv is kind of standing there waiting for him to say nothing, but then he just gives her an order of what to order for him. And,
yeah, nails and wood and stuff. And like Viv is the muscle here that's like carrying around the wood and the beams and stuff. And then they just get to work on it together for a couple weeks. And it's cute because they're not talking a lot, but they are somehow building this sort of friendship as they go. So following all the construction work, it takes several weeks. Viv puts out a help wanted sign out front, and the next day Tandri shows up, and Tandri is one of the other main characters of the story. Tandri is a succubus, which has a lot of negative connotations because they're supposed to be like sex demons or something like that. So they're all the like misogynistic and really predatory assumptions about her and her people that she confides in Viv about.
And she's kind of an outcast in the town because of that as well. So
yeah, a lot of this is like the collection of the outcasts working together to make this thing, which I think is another really cute, heartwarming element of the story.
Yeah.
But Tandri is kind of like the marketing manager person that's working in the cafe.
She can draw. She can kind of. Yeah. She has the mind for how to help Viv reach the people in the town. She comes up with the idea of doing like free coffee on
Yeah,
the
she
first
paints the
day.
signs and she's
She
good with the
comes up she
customers.
comes up with this cute um little sign that she makes, which we have a sticker of, which they hang outside, and she does the all of the design work too for the sign out front and everything inside, and she brings a level of bubbliness because she's definitely more of a sunshine character. So where Cal is grumpy, she's the sunshine, and Viv is kind of the strong muscle
Yeah, we're
mercenary.
collecting these like misfits to
Mm-hmm.
make the well-rounded cast.
Yes. So, and she rounds out everything, which is really nice because Cal's time is coming to an end. Like, he's built Viv this beautiful countertop where she can put all of the stools and everything for the coffee bar. He built her some booths
I
off
think he
on the
built her a
side.
bed too, didn't
Yeah,
he?
he did. He built her a bed because he sees that she's sleeping on straw, which she still doesn't really use for a while, but it's just a nice touch where you can see that he's trying to take care of her too, and like he really turns this stable into this very cute coffee shop, which is actually on the cover of this book here, which I love. Um, so you can see this is kind of what it's supposed to look like.
And this is the Owl Crate edition, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, really, really cute.
He turns that house into a home.
Yes. And I think actually on the inside here, let me see if I'm right. I think that there is a layout of the cafe on the inside
Oh
as
man,
well.
we got like the deluxe edition.
Yeah. So, yeah. So this is kind of what they have spent the last few weeks working on together. So just to give an idea, and then the full cover here as well has Thune in the street that they're on. So it's just a very cute medieval style town.
So at this point in the story, a local thug starts to show up and tell Viv that they collect dues from local businesses for protection. It's like this like generic mob shakedown thing, and of course Viv sees right through it. She's like, I'm not getting involved in this business. She's like, look around, look at me, look at you. Like, this
But
is not happening like this.
she also knows that she can't just manhandle this person too because she can't run away. So
She's trying to build a business in this community. It doesn't
right.
work if she's beating the out of everybody in this community.
Yeah, so she pulls Cal and Tandri, and she's trying to figure out, you know, how to handle this, and they're coming before the shop is even open, so she's able to say it first, like, I don't even know if I'm gonna do well. I can't pay you any
Yeah,
dues.
fuck.
We
We're not doing this.
Yeah, we haven't even started yet.
So at this point now, we're introduced to the next main character of the story, which is Thimble. So Viv meets Thimble because she's sleeping one night and she hears a noise and thinks somebody has broken in to either like attack her or like destroy the business or something. And she goes downstairs and she meets Thimble. And Thimble's cooking already, right?
Yeah.
So Thimble is a ratkin?
A ratkin, which Viv knows what a ratkin is because we don't know this at the time, but she had already met ratkins in some of her previous.
In the prequel story, you
Mhm.
meet her friend Fern, who is a ratkin.
As well. So, but we'll get there when we do
We'll
that
get
one.
there when we get there.
Are we there yet?
We get there when we get there.
But she's not surprised. She knows what a ratkin is, but she finds out that Thimble has been living in the walls and in the back in her kitchen and things like that during this whole time. And I think Thimble had been living in the stables even before Viv had bought them. So
Yeah.
he was kind of hiding out and hoping that he wouldn't be seen because this is where he's been living.
He's really shy. He doesn't really
Mhm.
talk.
Yeah.
But he bakes. He's a really good baker. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, he makes these, like, biscotti cookies.
Mhm.
And he makes some other stuff, I think. But
Yeah.
that's the thing to, like, pair with the coffee, so it's not just a coffee
He makes
shop.
cinnamon rolls and he makes all sorts of croissants and things like that.
Yeah.
But
He's the other, like, main character of the story.
but I think that is how she finds him. I think he was cooking for himself and she came down and she tried
And he gave her one, right?
Mhm.
And she was like, oh my god, this is great.
And Tandri is basically, once she talks to Tandri about it, Tandri is like, this is exactly what we need while we introduce people to coffee, because at this point, Cal and Tandri are all in on coffee.
Yeah.
Like, Viv has convinced them to try it, and
They love it.
They were so hesitant at first, but now they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the detail is really great in this book, too. Like, Travis Baldree really takes the time to describe which drink each of the characters enjoys.
Yeah, and how they like it made.
And how everything smells and feels, and, you know, the descriptions are
the
really,
vibe.
Yeah, really, really
It's all
good.
about the vibes.
So Thimble is this absolutely shy character.
Really cute.
He's gonna run out, but Viv is like, how about this? You will be our resident baker, because there is another shop across the way that they've had some tension with at this point,
Yeah.
and this other shop owner is wondering what she's doing, and she's just kind of condescending, and, you know, it's a rival shop vibe. And I think that she has some baked goods and stuff like that. So
there's beef in the streets.
Viv realizes that in order for them to pull in customers, it would be really helpful if they had baked goods that would draw people in with the smell of things cooking in the morning and things like
Stuff
that.
to pair.
And then slowly over time, she can pair the different things that they make with coffee and get people in on it. So that's their marketing strategy. And Tandri suggests that on opening day, because we're pretty much ready for it now, that and I think that what they were waiting for is some gnomish coffee or something to arrive. There was something.
They were waiting. They had like the machine, but not the coffee, or something like that.
Or vice versa. They had some coffee and not the machine.
Yeah,
there was something that had been delayed in transit, and now it's finally arrived, and they're ready for opening day. And Thimble is baking all of his. I think he started with the cinnamon rolls.
I actually think they opened without the bakery.
Did they?
I think they just opened with the coffee, and it was like not super successful opening.
Yeah.
So then they started adding more options. So it's like coffee with milk, like the other variations.
Right. They actually have it, I think, here. This is the menu. So it's like Legends and Lattes, menu, exotic aroma, which is the coffee, full-bodied roast. And then they have the latte, a sophisticated and creamy variation. Any drink iced, which is a refined twist.
That's, I think, another addition that they made later. And then when Thimble shows up, then it's like the food menu as well.
Yeah.
Which, like, every time they change the menu, more people respond to it, more people start showing up.
Yeah, so it becomes this place where the first few days when they were only doing coffee and a latte, people didn't know
what it was. Yeah. People were like, why are you serving this one thing?
Yeah, and they tried doing a free coffee day where you could just come in and try it, and people were still just hesitant, not coming skeptical. In really. Yeah, so the bakery brings in a lot of people, and everyone's really excited about it, and they slowly start converting everyone to coffee. Everyone's really into their different coffee drinks. A lot more
college kids start showing up, because apparently Thune has a university.
Yep, so it's, you know, it becomes your typical kind of cozy coffee shop vibe, and a wandering bard comes in too that starts playing music. They didn't even ask him to, but he just shows up. And,
and that sets again, the vibes. It's another layer to the vibes.
So we have all of that, and I think they insist on paying him because he brings in
a lot of customers.
A lot of customers and things like that. So it's just this kind of like found family. You know, Cal comes every once in a while and fixes the odd thing. And he gets addicted to his coffee in the morning, so he comes in and starts his day.
Every day,
and he loves the different bakery things that they have too. So it's just like we're kind of vibing for a while. It's very cute. And then we do have another run-in with the
quote unquote like mob family of Thune.
Yeah, so the guy comes again and is like, your shop's doing really well.
It's time to pay the piper.
You have to pay the tax that everyone else pays. And, you know, he sells it like a true salesman. He's like, the benefit is that we keep you safe. And, you know, all this stuff. So it's a true shakedown. And
again, Viv's not buying it. She's like, no sale. Because the lie is that we're protecting you, right, from us, because we're going to destroy your shop if you don't pay us. And Viv, being a mercenary, is like, I don't need protection. I am the protection.
Right. So she refuses again, and there's a little bit of tension around this because Tangerine, Cal, and Thimble know that this is
it's going down.
A real mob, gang, and they're gonna come, and Viv's not concerned because she's like, I can handle it.
It presents the great like conundrum of characters that are trying to change from who they used to be, where there always has to be the element of temptation to be who you used to be, to fully overcome it. You have to resist the temptation, and this like B plot is the thing that it's like, it would be so easy for you to just kill these guys. It'd be so easy for you to just get rid of them if you just pick up your sword again and just cut them in half, basically.
Right. But then you would have to leave, and you couldn't stay here because that's not something that you can legally do.
Yeah, of course.
She's trying to, make it in this place.
She's trying to build roots and build a home, and it's the thing where who you want to be is going to cost you who you were. Right. You have to sacrifice it.
Yeah.
So also at some point around this time, before or after she's reapproached by the mob family,
who is also the main woman who runs it is called the Madrigal, so that's kind of the name.
Madrigal
or Madrigal?
I don't know if it's like a name or a title.
Anyway, but that's what they call her, and so
the antagonist of the story.
So we hear her name now going around a little bit around this time too, and there's a lot of fear for the regular townsfolk around it.
And people are like tense because like everybody else just pays, and Viv's like, no, you, and it's like, oh no, now it's gonna be tense. But people at this point now really like the coffee shop, so it's like
they don't want it to go anywhere. They're worried about Viv.
It's a vibe where it's like, oh, it's gonna be a shame when this place burns down because I really like it.
Yeah.
But also around this time now, an old friend of Viv's, a bard, shows up, and
named Fennis.
I think Fennis, yeah.
Yeah.
So. And recognizes the stone, the Scalvard stone, which I don't know how he knew it was there, unless he was just like, again, feeling vibes. And he says that the stone doesn't just draw in good fortune, it also draws in bad fortune. And that like creates the doubt in Viv's mind whether or not like she was successful on her own, or if it was just because of the stone. Again, the conflict in herself, where did I do this myself? Like, was this really like the product of hard work, me, my friends, the passion, or is this just because of the stone? Like, am I not actually good at this? Should I give up, cut my losses, and go back to being a mercenary because I was really good at that? But it's not her passion. So.
Right.
So also during this time, Viv and Tandria are growing closer. They're starting to hang out like outside of the coffee shop when they go to talk to vendors or stuff like that. And we're getting to know Tandria more, that she's a college student, that she faces this discrimination because she's a succubus and they're not common. And people really sort of like have a lot of prejudice towards them because they just look at them as like sex objects.
And Viv is getting more and more protective of her too because she sees how people look at her, and a couple of times Tandria stays late to help with things around the cafe. And eventually Viv feels so protective that she is like, I'm going to walk you home if it's late at night. So they have some cute scenes. We're starting to see that there is some tension between them. And this kind of new relationship vibe is starting to grow. So Tandria's occasionally staying over, and just things are growing as we're going here. And then the other thing that has been happening too is Thimble was hiding in the walls, but there's also some creature that's been coming in that's been eating things. And
but before we go to that, I also want to talk about Tandria, and again another character where it's the subversion of expectations, because succubus in other stories is like a sex demon, and she doesn't want to be known for that. She wants to be known for her hard work and everything else. Like, she wants to be more than what she is, like Viv. So there is that mirroring in their characters where you have a character who you think is an archetype of what they are, but they want to be something different.
Yeah, definitely. So,
There's also the cat character that's like around all the time. That's
yeah.
like the cafe cat, the bodega cat.
But
That
it's a
like
dire cat, so her name is Amity, and
did
at
they name
first
her? Name the cat?
I don't know if they name her or if she somehow tells them her name,
Yeah, I
but
don't know what a dire cat is. Is it
it's
just like
a
a big
very
ass cat?
yes. So it's like a dire wolf, but a dire cat.
So how big is this cat?
Very big.
No, like
like wolf size or bigger.
oh, that's
So
crazy.
so this is like a
Comically large cat.
yeah, so think dire wolf but cat version, and this cat also has some like magic
Yeah, like psychic
abilities.
abilities, right? That's how it tells them her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's been around for a while too. So just like Thimble was living in the walls and in the kitchen and things, the cat comes and goes as she pleases without having to break in. So somehow she's able to come through the walls or something like that. But she really likes Viv and everyone.
Yeah.
But
It's good energy.
they don't know that at first. So, you know, they notice that things are being eaten at times and everything. But one night they wake up and the cat's sleeping there
with them.
and they're kind of like, oh, okay. And so Amity kind of becomes their cafe cat, and you know, she doesn't really show herself to the other customers during the day, but she's around protecting them and things like that. So it's very cozy vibes meets Dungeons and Dragons with these creatures that would a dire cat would be terrifying in any other story.
But it's chill.
She's cute and cuddly in this one.
At this point, we get to sort of like the climax of the story where things had kind of been going on like a really good upward trajectory. We're building the family, we're building the business, everything's good. And then Viv wakes up one night and the place is on fire. So at this point now, we've reached the apex of the story, which is the fire. That guy that she used to know, the bard, Fennis.
Elf, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Elf, Fennis.
Who used to work in her old crew,
yeah, he's just a
too.
mercenary with them. Breaks in the middle of the night, steals the Scalvert stone, and starts a huge fire.
Yes. And so Tandry's over, and Viv, they're sleeping, and the dire cat's up with them too.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they start smelling smoke and they wake up and the entire cafe is completely on fire. And so it's just this like really tense scene where Viv is trying to get everyone out okay. You know, the cat disappears, but she's trying to get Tandry out. Yeah. Is Thimble still living there too? I think Thimble lives in the cafe too, but I'm not sure about
Thimble
that.
definitely like gets out and lives. I don't know if he's living in the cafe still, but Thimble lives, thank God. We love Thimble
so
in this
everyone
house.
Gets out, but it's just really devastating.
Really tense. And it's the culmination of her not paying these mob people, Fennis being like a sketchy character from her past.
Yeah.
Her like reliance or like false imaginations about the Scalvard stone. All of these things just kind of come together and everything goes up basically.
Yeah, and you know, at this point we're thinking, you know, maybe it's her old crew being jealous of her success because of the stone and everything, and they've come back because another part we didn't talk about was that one of her old crewmates, Rune, is who did deliver I think it was the coffee machine or something like that towards the beginning of the book, and he asked a lot of questions about the shop and stuff like that. So you start to wonder, like, is her old crew working against her? Like, what's going on here? Because it seems like now there's multiple people who are.
It could be anybody, or it could be everybody.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just really devastating. The whole town is there. They work together with the fire brigade to put it out.
Yeah, but it's
a magical fire too, and so it's hard to put out. It basically burns the whole place down, and
it's just a shell of a building now with just brick because so much of it was made of wood.
And the stone is gone, so now Viv is like, can I rebuild? Is it even gonna matter?
It like feeds into Viv's thing where she's like, I only got all of this because of the stone, and I lost it all because of the stone.
Yeah.
But at this point, because of her relationships that she made in the story thus far, they're like we'll just have to rebuild it. And she's like, she's at her lowest point.
She's like, I don't have the
Emotionally.
money I used to have.
Yeah.
Like, I poured everything I had into this place. I can't pay you guys the way that I
Yeah.
did. I can't, like, she's at rock bottom. She's ready to give up.
Yeah.
But the town doesn't give up on her. And that's kind of.
Tandri and Cal and Thimble are like, no way. We're not giving up on this place. Like, this was a community place and we all did this together. We are going to rebuild.
Yeah. So before the fire, though, we should also mention that Viv had gone finally to meet with the Madrigal because she realized that
there's going to be beef.
There was going to be issues. And so she had just before the fire gone and orchestrated a meeting with the Madrigal, and she gets there and it ends up being an old frail woman, and
again, subversion of expectations.
Right. She's expecting this kind of really rough, tough, powerful person.
Magical person.
Yeah. But it's this old woman, and the old woman, they have a conversation, and Viv says that she's not going to pay them, basically, no matter what. And so the Madrigal at this point, though, really liked the pastries that Thimble makes. And so they make an agreement where Viv can pay her dues in pastries instead of in money. And so they go on from there, and it just turns this whole situation into a positive one where this group of thugs now really like to come to the cafe and things. So after the fire happens, Viv is wondering
who did this,
because it couldn't be the Madrigal and it couldn't be any of that.
But when she realizes that the stone is missing, it has to be Fennis because he's the only one that knew where it was.
Right.
So after the fire, she's like digging through the ashes to find the stone because at this point she believes that it caused the fire.
Yeah.
But it's gone, and if it's gone, the only person who knew about it was Fennis or Tandri. But obviously she's not. Tandri didn't take it, guys. Spoilers.
Yeah. So, it becomes this thing where Viv is at her lowest point. The stone is gone. She feels like maybe the stone brought misfortune to her. But what ends up happening is the whole town comes together. Her friends,
the mob
and
thugs.
Even the mob thugs come and they help out.
And everybody just is like, no way, we're not letting this sink. This has become like a community place. We want it to still be here.
Viv is a good person. We want her to stay. So...
And it's the thing where people believing in your dream helps you become successful, which we need more of in this world.
So ultimately, they rebuild the cafe. Viv learns she doesn't need the stone. The Dire Cat and some of the Madrigal's people do go after Fennis, and they beat him up. And
I was going to say, I thought they killed him.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't
Ambiguous off-screen ending for Fennis.
Some misfortune follows him, which is what the stone brings to those who take it for misdeeds, which is ultimately what happened. So,
but it's the conclusion of the arc where Viv had to do it without the stone to know she could really do it, and she commits herself that this is her home, these are her people, and this is what she's going to do. And I think her
sword gets destroyed in the fire too.
So Viv's sword was destroyed in the fire, and they find it, and it's like warped and broken. And Cal and Tandri take the pieces and incorporate it into the sign for Legends Lattes, which is like the full, complete transformation of Viv, of her life, of her mentality, of her purpose, to fully be the cafe owner, to live in this town.
She's done with her mercenary time. She doesn't have any weapons anymore. She is just fully immersed in this new town and a part of the community. So it's a really, the conflict at the end is nothing, basically. The big thing is the fire in this. We were ready for a lot of tension when she went to meet the Madrigal.
I thought it was going to be a fight.
Yeah, that ended up being
But again, it's the subversion of expectations, the thing that we assume because of our having read stories and knowing the archetypes of these characters and turning it on its head.
Yeah, and I think that that's what makes this such a good cozy fantasy, because it's cozy. There's hardly any conflict, but there's tension and there's moments where we wonder if things are going to escalate to a fight, and they don't. And so, and it's a real testament to thinking outside of the box for all these characters on how to do things in a new way. And Viv learns that she can live her life without fighting. She can figure out how to make deals like paying these thugs
Cookies.
in cookies and pastries and cinnamon rolls instead of
Fighting
shaking them down
Yeah.
and having tension. And it ends up being a thing where the Madrigal actually really loves coming to the cafe, and it's very cute, and all these characters have a happy ending, and her and Tandri end up in a relationship, which is really cute, and Cal becomes one of their regular, handymen. He helps with everything around, and this redeems him in the light of the town too, where he's accepted more, and Thimble is accepted more and able to cook and bake his pastries. So, and just everyone is much happier.
I think this is also like, you go into the story and think that, the synopsis will just say like Viv goes to a new town and tries to start a new business, but it's more than that. Like, she's building a community, she's building a family, she's building a life, like a full life, not just an occupation or like a relationship. There's a well-rounded picture here that her entire life was changed for the better.
Yeah, and even though the stone brought her there, she didn't need the stone, and I think that that's really big too. She never thought of herself very highly beyond just being muscles and a sword, and so she thought she needed magic and this stone to give her friends and give her a community, but it turns out that she really could have done it on her own without the stone. Yep. So yeah, it's a really sweet story. We'll definitely do Bookshops and Bone Dust too, which is the second book, and that's a prequel story which covers Viv on one of her adventures when she gets hurt. It's also a cozy fantasy story, but she ends up in this seaside town and helps with a failing bookshop and things like that. So
stay tuned next week.
Yeah, so we will see you guys next week with that.
And with that, that is our summary and review of Legends and Lattes. Make sure you come back next week to check out our review and summary for Bookshops and Bone Dust.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know if we forgot anything, because we probably did, in the comments below. All right. Thank you. Bye.